I have to introduce it because I guess we're no longer going to. It's no longer Mueller time. We gotta pour a can. Come on, let's pour the can.
Mueller time's over.
Mueller time's over. Oh.
So, but here's the thing: is it's not going away, and this isn't really a full article, but it's a video that I'd like to recommend that ended up on the Gray Zone Project. Aaron Matei interviews Stephen Cohen, who is a professor of Russian studies at New York University.
Right.
And this is one of those things where he's accurately kind of doing a retrospective on Mueller and everything that kind of happened over the last 2 years. And it's at every turn, we realize these accusations don't have evidence that's backing them up. We're not going to be able to prosecute on these things. This turned out to be false. There's another bombshell that turns out to be fake. The news media has been going nutso about Russia for so long, and now you've got the Mueller report basically concluding we can't charge anything. The core mandate that Mueller had to demonstrate that there was collusion, or the legal term that he equated it with in the report was conspiracy between the Trump campaign and the Russian government or Russian state actors. They can't confirm that. And a lot of people will take the fact that there's this whole second part regarding obstruction of justice, which they don't recommend, which in the hearings he said, even if it weren't for the fact that we believe that we couldn't, or that whatever agency told them that you can't indict a sitting president, we still would not recommend. The fact that Mueller left the door open for Congress to potentially indict the president on obstruction charges, which they don't have conclusive evidence for, or they don't present evidence for in the report, on a crime that they also don't have evidence for, it just leaves the door for this never going away, right? The Mueller report has been closed. It is over. We don't have anything to charge. We don't have recommendations for indictments on obstruction of justice, but because it's possible that a congressional inquiry could keep the ball rolling on that, anyone who's been screaming about how Russia has taken over our election taken over our country over the last 3 years now has full vindication to continue on with that ad nauseum for infinity. Like, because the door is not 100% closed, so that people are going to keep doing that. And we mentioned it earlier today, and even we talked about how Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide in his jail cell, and Joe Scarborough says, "Oh, how Russian." This is a neo-McCarthyism. This is red baiting. It is going to continue. Caitlin Johnstone did a great article the other day of how not to be considered a Russian puppet while online. And it's a whole list of things like accept Joe Biden as your Lord and Savior and all of these ridiculous things. Like, so
we have to Biden it up technically to
right.
we're not Russian?
Just take the position that anything the U.S. government and the U.S. intelligence agency is 100% true, and they've never lied before, and all of the wars are great, and just then you'll never be smeared as a Russian apologist or a Putin puppet. I mean, maybe, probably. As long as you're obedient. So I wouldn't worry about it. That's how she ends the article.
That sounds like true freedom to me, though.
So,
yeah, let's be real.
It's infuriating.
So here's something we got to take away. 2.5 years of BS about Russiagate. 2.5 years we're hearing Rachel Maddow say that somehow Russia is behind destroying our democracy, and the Trump administration knows it. 2.5 years of dealing with this ridiculous false narrative that somehow Russia destroyed our democracy, when in fact corporate media has been turning a blind eye to the 2016 election fraud that happened. Let's not forget that the DNC establishment and Clinton campaign worked together to deny Bernie Sanders the nomination in 2016, and corporate media willingly turned a blind eye to it. But as soon as the great Hillary Clinton lost to President Donald Trump, everyone was saying Russia, 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 Russia. But then after the report was finally revealed, Russia didn't do it, but yet the hate still remains. It's stupid. It's incompetence. It shows the very fact that corporate media cannot do its job. They are running with this ridiculous narrative that somehow Facebook ads bought by, somebody in Russia destroyed the entire American electoral process. Really? Have you not been paying attention? Because of Citizens United McCutcheon's decision, our democratic process can be bought by anyone with money. Anyone with money can buy our democratic leaders in the Senate and House, for office of president, at the state level, at the county level, at the city level. Everything's open. Anybody can buy into our democracy. Anybody can buy a politician. It's just not Russia. But what corporate media is doing is a stupid cartoon logic, the Saturday morning cartoon logic that Russia is this end-all, be-all bad guy, when in fact the bad guys are really those who have money, dark money, who buy our politicians. They're in Wall Street. They're in the big banks. They're in the major corporations. Why do you think we're not addressing infrastructure or student debt or climate change? Because the lobby groups in Washington, D.C. are telling Democrat and Republican leaders in the United States Senate and House to turn a blind eye to it. This is it's so stupid, it's ignorant beyond belief. And not to mention, when you have somebody like Representative Tulsi Gabbard speaking the truth about foreign wars and why we need to change our foreign policy, everyone in corporate media is calling her a Russian puppet, which is so unfair because Tulsi Gabbard, as it stands right now, is actually serving with her National Army Guard unit in Hawaii. Now. So here you have an active servicewoman wearing the uniform, protecting our rights, our liberties, protecting the American flag, but yet corporate media is going to call her a Russian puppet. Really?
And
how
so
stupid are they?
One of the things
I
that
had
always
to go
comes
off.
back
I had to
to
rant.
Right, yeah. So, but you're super right, right? All of this Russian puppet, Kremlin agent nonsense almost always comes when you have pushback about assertions that drag us into war or keep us in war. As soon as you go, hey, maybe it's not a great idea that we keep funding Saudi Arabia and letting them commit genocide in Yemen. Hey, maybe it's a little bit confusing. Are we fighting Bashar al-Assad? Do we think he's a dictator? But it seems like he's fighting our other sworn enemies, ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Are you saying we should be aiding ISIS and Al-Qaeda or just like, what does that mean? Maybe we shouldn't be at war here. Oh, you Russian. If we're not at war, you're just doing that because you're trying to help Putin. Like, that's so dumb. It's infuriating to say, hey, I think as a general principled position, we should try to decrease the amount of overall human suffering in the world. Yeah. Oh, you Kremlin apologist.
So let's break this down. There's a lot of different angles, and I'll go over as many as I can. So first, Tulsi puts in a bill that says, hey, we can fix these intrusions. So if someone does hack these elections, we have paper ballot backups. No one wants that. Because if you were to do that, the Republicans would lose the ability to vote or suppress, and the Democrats would lose the ability to rig primaries as much. So they're willing to maintain those things, even if it makes the U.S. more susceptible to attacks. That's first. So you go with the whole Russiagate thing. There's two aspects of this. Remember, the people that are running this aren't stupid. They're very smart people, and they're running by a very well-tested playbook. And that is, their audience is generally in their 60s and 70s as a median age. So what do those people go through in their life? The Red Scare. They went through the USSR. They've been conditioned, many people still that haven't broke out of it, have been conditioned since birth to say Russia bad, anything Russia bad, communism bad, knee-jerk reaction, amygdala big. And they do that. So when the news media talks to those same people and says Russia, they've already been pre-planted in their youth to think a certain way. When that's said, that bypasses all logic. Another point, going to what Kit said. Does Russia interfere with U.S. elections? Yeah. Does China? Yeah. Does every country with a computer interfere with every other country with a computer's elections? Yeah. It's the modern world. What do you think? Now let's go to Russiagate. Is it true that Trump worked with Russians in a business capacity for much of his career? Yeah. Is there probably a bunch of laundering that goes along with that? Yeah. Is Trump corrupt and that corruption can overlap with Russia? Yeah. Did Russia make actions towards the U.S. by spending $100,000 on memes on Facebook and a few other things? Yeah. But the point is, those are three independent variables. And the only way, and if they just stay independent, they're not news issues. Because then you're saying Trump's corrupt and everyone goes, yeah, so is everyone else in D.C. If you go, Russia interfered with the election, everyone goes, yeah, so does every country with a computer, and especially the U.S. and especially the CIA. And then you can do that with every single category. But if somehow all three of those points are combined into one single event, the DNC is no longer responsible for how it did the primary. The Republicans can now be blamed for being traitors the entire time a president is president. The Democrats felt vengeful because of what happened to Obama and then became the very thing they sought to destroy. and the American people that still have a lot of power because of all the things we've talked about before, still believe it right away, and it's a story they will take in. But in reality, what happened? One of the weakest big countries on the planet, Russia's GDP is far less than South Korea. Basically they have nukes and the KGB is still there, but I mean, what does Russia really have besides oil? They don't really have infrastructure.
We need a boogeyman because
the
boogeyman. United States and corporate media have to have a boogeyman. That's the only way they can explain how the glorious Hillary Clinton lost against an orange clown.
The only way that they can explain away the election of 2016 is if those three factors united as one event. But that's not what happened. They were three factors that were three factors, and each one of those factors is ubiquitous in Washington. It's like when Caesar was stabbed to death, blaming a single senator for doing all of it. It's nonsense.
It's stupid.